Imagine a world where surfing the internet felt like navigating a choppy, unpredictable sea. A world where one dominant tech giant, seemingly invincible, was brought to its knees not by a competitor's groundbreaking innovation, but by its own hubris and a small, scrappy upstart. In the mid-1990s, that exact scenario played out, and at the heart of it was a piece of software so transformative yet so threatening it nearly derailed Microsoft's entire empire. This isn't just a story about a browser. It's a cautionary tale about power, innovation, and how quickly the tide can turn. What exactly was this digital Goliath, and how did it almost conquer the computing world? To truly grasp the magnitude of this confrontation, we need to rewind to the ancient digital times of the early 1990s. The Internet, a nascent, chaotic beast, was starting to stir. For most people, it was an alien concept, a playground for academics and government agencies. Microsoft, the undisputed king of personal computing, was so focused on its Windows and Office empires that it initially dismissed the Internet as an irrelevant sideshow. They saw it as a niche tool, not a potential paradigm shift. This colossal misjudgment would almost cost them everything. While Microsoft was busy perfecting Windows 95, a little company called Netscape Communications was about to unleash a technological revolution. Born from the ashes of Mosaic, the very first graphical web browser, Netscape Navigator burst onto the scene in 1994. It was fast, relatively stable, and, most importantly, it was easy to use. Suddenly, the Internet wasn't just for tech gurus. It was accessible to anyone with a modem. Navigator wasn't just a browser, it was a gateway. It transformed the Internet from a cryptic text interface into a vibrant, clickable world, full of possibilities. Netscape wasn't just riding the wave, they were creating it. Within a remarkably short time, Netscape Navigator commanded an astonishing 90% of the browser market. They were the Internet. They dictated standards, innovated at a furious pace, and seemed utterly unstoppable. Microsoft, meanwhile, was caught completely flat-footed, watching from the sidelines as the digital landscape shifted beneath its feet. They had built an empire, but the foundation was starting to crack, and they hadn't even noticed the termites until it was almost too late. The alarm bells at Microsoft finally rang, not with a gentle chime, but with a deafening roar. In late 1995, Bill Gates, the shrewd visionary behind Microsoft, penned his now legendary memo, "The Internet Tidal Wave." This wasn't just a memo, it was a desperate battle cry, a confession of near-fatal oversight, and a declaration of war. Gates explicitly stated that the Internet was the most important development since the personal computer itself, and Microsoft had been dangerously slow to react. He galvanized the entire company, redirecting every available resource, from Windows to Office, to embrace the Internet. The new mantra became "Embrace and Extend," a seemingly benign phrase that, in practice, meant dominate. Microsoft's strategy was simple, brutal, and effective. Crush Netscape. They had a formidable advantage: Windows itself. What followed was one of the most intense, no-holds-barred corporate rivalries in history, famously dubbed the Browser Wars. Microsoft's weapon of choice was Internet Explorer, a browser originally licensed from Spyglass Mosaic. But Microsoft didn't just license it. They poured millions of dollars and hundreds of engineers into it, rapidly improving its features and performance. Their masterstroke, however, was to bundle Internet Explorer directly into Windows. This wasn't just pre-installation, it was deep integration, making Explorer an almost inseparable part of the operating system. For Netscape, this was a death blow. How could they compete when their rival's product was not only free, but came pre-installed on virtually every new PC? The convenience was undeniable for consumers, even if it stifled choice. Microsoft also leveraged its immense financial power, offering Internet Explorer to ISPs and computer manufacturers for free, or even paying them to distribute it exclusively. The market share numbers tell a grim story for Netscape. From its peak of over 90%, Navigator's share began to plummet, while Internet Explorer's skyrocketed. Developers, seeing the writing on the wall, started optimizing their websites for Explorer, further marginalizing Netscape. The war was brutal, characterized by rapid feature development, aggressive marketing, and a relentless push for market dominance. Each new version of Explorer came with more features, better integration, and a subtle message. Why pay for Netscape when you can get something just as good or better for free already built into your operating system? The constant innovation also meant a less stable browsing experience at times, as companies rushed to get features out the door first, but the momentum was unstoppable. The digital battlefield was littered with technological innovations and, importantly, legal implications. What they discovered next changed everything. This aggressive bundling and leveraging of its Windows monopoly did not go unnoticed. The United States Department of Justice, along with several state attorneys general, launched a sprawling antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft in 1998, alleging illegal monopolistic practices. The core of the accusation was that Microsoft used its dominant position in the operating system market to unfairly disadvantage competitors in other markets, specifically the browser market. The government argued that by bundling Internet Explorer with Windows and making it difficult to remove, Microsoft was effectively strong-arming consumers and stifling innovation. This wasn't just about a browser, it was about the very foundations of fair competition in the digital age. The trial was a spectacle, revealing internal Microsoft emails and documents that painted a vivid picture of their intent to cut off Netscape's air supply. Bill Gates himself was a central figure, his deposition often terse and evasive, creating a public perception of an arrogant giant. The legal proceedings dragged on for years, a cloud hanging over the mighty Redmond campus. The initial ruling was devastating. Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson concluded that Microsoft had indeed engaged in anti-competitive behavior and ordered the company to be broken up into two separate entities. The news sent shockwaves through the tech world and Wall Street. Could the most powerful tech company on Earth really be dismantled? The idea seemed unfathomable. The prospect of breaking up Microsoft was terrifying for investors and potentially destabilizing for the entire industry. This wasn't just a corporate battle, it was a fight for the very soul of the Internet, and the outcome would shape how software was developed and distributed for decades. The looming breakup threatened Microsoft's very existence as a unified entity, demonstrating just how close a simple browser war came to toppling a titan. The fight for control over the browser, the gateway to the Internet, had escalated beyond mere market share. It had become a legal and existential crisis for the software behemoth. The pressure was immense, leading to internal reorganization and a re-evaluation of long-held strategies. Microsoft was on the ropes, facing its most significant challenge yet, all because it initially underestimated the power of a tiny piece of software and its rival. The fear of being dismembered forced them to rethink their entire approach to competition and innovation, ultimately leading to a more cautious, albeit still dominant strategy in the years that followed. To this day, we may never know the precise counterfactual, what the Internet would look like had Netscape won, or if Microsoft had never engaged in such aggressive tactics. The browser wars fundamentally reshaped not just the Internet, but the entire tech industry's understanding of competition, innovation, and the role of antitrust regulation. Microsoft, though it ultimately avoided a breakup on appeal and settled the antitrust case, paid a heavy price in reputation and resources. Their victory in the browser wars was Pyrrhic in many ways, setting the stage for future battles with new competitors. Netscape, despite its early brilliance, faded into obscurity, eventually acquired by AOL. But its legacy, along with the antitrust case, left an indelible mark. It proved that even the biggest giants could be challenged, and that unchecked power comes with severe consequences. The saga highlights the inherent fragility of even the most dominant positions in technology and serves as a stark reminder that innovation, once unleashed, can disrupt even the most entrenched empires. If you want more mysteries like this, the next video explores the bizarre, untold story of the deep web's early days and the secret government project that accidentally created it. The battle for the browser may have concluded, but the echoes of its lessons continue to resonate in every new tech showdown, reminding us that no company is ever too big to fail, and no innovation is ever too small to ignite a revolution.